A Ondamarela foi convidada a desenvolver um projeto para a Capital Europeia da Cultura, em Malta, de criação de uma orquestra comunitária que apresentasse um espetáculo de larga escala em setembro de 2018, ao mesmo tempo que deixava na ilha ferramentas, processos e uma regularidade e frequência de trabalho com um conjunto de pessoas que permitissem que estes projetos continuassem a acontecer na ilha. A mensagem primordial que este projeto tenta passar é de que qualquer pessoa, independentemente da sua idade, da sua origem social ou até de que perspectiva tem acerca do mundo e da música em particular, qualquer pessoa pode fazer parte de um grande evento cultural com um impacto no seu país. As pessoas mais diversas, as entidades mais alheias à prática cultural ou até as comunidades mais escondidas e mais difíceis de atingir, e por isso faz parte deste projeto o tentar reunir com o máximo de instituições, entidades, pessoas que nos possam levar a outras instituições e outras entidades. Se o projeto fosse apenas o de criar um concerto de forma colaborativa e que fosse identificativo das pessoas que estão em palco, era possível ter pensado nesse projeto de forma não tão longa, muito mais curta, muito mais intensa. Como esse não era o objetivo único do projeto e se pensou num processo mais longo, mais frequente, mais regular, com muito mais idas a Malta, então foi possível ver Malta sob várias perspectivas, ir a sítios muito diferentes, acompanhar uma espécie de cotidiano maltês de forma mais regular, intensa, mais próxima. Se nós não tivéssemos visto algumas das manifestações culturais lá, não tínhamos entendido tão bem o preconceito, por exemplo.
Se não tivéssemos passado ou estado lá no Dia da Mãe, não tínhamos percebido a sua importância. Se não tivéssemos tido o Charlie como taxista regular também e frequente, não teríamos nem conhecido o Hannah Singing, mas também um conjunto de outras camadas da identidade e da cultura maltesa. Sem esses contactos próximos seriam impossíveis de recolher.
Throughout our whole time here in Malta, we've encountered a lot of sort of viewpoints and opinions, some of which seem conflicting with other opinions, some of which seem very interesting, some of which are perhaps a little bit mundane. And with all of these, there's sort of a get-out clause that seems to be used, which is, it's the Maltese way. So we had this idea of this being one of the central themes of our project, the Maltese way. So we decided to create a song in which we could explore this more fully. And the first verse of the Maltese way just gives one of those little stories, one of those little anecdotes about things being the Maltese way. In this one, a bit about travelling, a few words about Kinney, a few words about Mela, words and things that have been very important to the people we've been working with.
It's the Maltese way, you might not like it, but I'll tell you it's ours.
When we explore the Maltese way, for example, with a small ensemble, we talk to them about how that is then working with the other groups, and they begin to understand actually how this thing is much bigger than just them themselves.
Take a little guinea and then tell me how you're feeling today. You might think it's nonsense, but I tell you it's the Maltese way. Try to go from A to B, it always takes you hours. It's the Maltese way, you might not like it, but I tell you
It's very easy at the end of a project like that with a kind of a big performance to focus solely on that performance. Now, that wasn't really that heart of what our process was about. It was really about sort of unique and really special things that you get from playing music together in a community, which is the development of kind of communication and understanding and respect between a group of people. In terms of training a performance thing, actually it's not rehearsing notes, it's about rehearsing a sensibility of like being part of a performing community where you have absolute responsibility for yourself, for your own conduct, and complete awareness of how the thing that you're doing affects everyone else in that space as well.
endlessly waiting and force hesitating for me. Lines stretch forever, those fast out together I see.
Don't forget to smile. Here we go.
We don't know how, we know where, and nobody goes there today.
Back. Here we go.
Stop with your stationary stillness, get out on my way.
And again from the top.
Next one's a B minor.
Existe um coro, o Gozo Community Choir, formado por pessoas com uma energia maravilhosa que surgiu no nosso workshop e ficamos muito contentes com toda a energia criada, a empatia com pessoas que já estavam, nomeadamente as crianças que já estavam a trabalhar connosco ali em Gozo.
It's very easy to think of our project as being a set of rehearsals preparing for a concert in September. It absolutely isn't that at all. What it is a whole series of related events whereby in each of those events what we do is we explore the maximum potential for the making of culture. So each one of those is a V18 cultural event in which we spend time bringing together a group of people and making music and making art and discussing ideas and exploring culture. And that's really what being an artist is. It's in the moment and really exploring the unique potential of that moment with a specific group of people at a specific time and place.
When we had our first group in January, one of the things we asked was for them to tell us things that they felt were unique about Malta. A lot of people mentioned traffic. So it's almost a no-brainer of an idea to take that. So one of the first pieces of music that we started to form a bit more strongly is a traffic piece, and we have a traffic song because it's one of those things, obviously is a stress for many people, but one thing we noticed with this group is they really enjoy having fun with the stresses of everyday life. We began a collaboration with a group called Malta Sound Women. Malta Sound Women were
one of the few existing artistic groups in Malta that really seemed to understand and grasped what we were trying to do with Mewġa Mużika. What they do is they work with electronics, quite lo-fi electronics. They use lots of like sort of old little guitar pedals and stuff, and quite simple gear to transform the sound of instruments. And so here we put together a group of about 10 women and girls from Mewġa Mużika group who started experimenting with their instruments and how those get transformed by the electrical kit of the Malta Sound Women. And we gave them little briefs. So, for example, on the piece Land and Sea, we had an idea that it would be kind of like a sea-inspired, washy soundscape that we would create as part of that. So the brief was, go and explore that and see what you can do with Malta Sound Women. And we stick a tenor horn and a trumpet through some kit. Let's see what it sounds like. And that became really exciting for the participants that engaged in that process. And then in the performance, it became such a big, significant part of the performance, really added to the overall sound and was then inspiring for everyone else in the group as well. There was this whole extra layer of stuff going on. The piece Land and Sea came from the experience of travelling to and from Gozo, and the fact that Gozo and Malta are connected by a strip of water, and you've got to get on a boat for half an hour to go between those two places. And a lot of people make that journey every day. It's a really striking part of the islands that instead of having a road, you've got this big strip of water. So we were on the boat going back from Gozo, and it just felt so strong, the kind of like identity of that kind of journey, and the fact that Malta and Gozo together aren't just land, they're land and sea, and that is what makes up the place. Mewġa Mużika as a band is a very important idea. The notion that Malta and Gozo as a kind of collection of islands can be represented by an orchestra kind of the people. So you can have, young children just starting out, elderly people who are just starting out on music. You can have people who play a little bit, people who play a lot, people from all different kinds of backgrounds with different experiences and aspirations and ideas and sounds.
apesar de se chamar orquestra, podem vir dizer alguma coisa, podem inventar um instrumento, podem desenvolver letras, podem cantar, podem tocar, tal como os músicos profissionais.
This to me seems like an obvious sort of group or ensemble for a city to have, or a country to have, or a region to have, or a continent to have, as the thing that it would put to represent itself and show itself to the rest of the world. So our first process is one of playing with material. Getting people to come up with both ideas with words, ideas with sound, ideas with rhythms, ideas with melodies. The process is one of kind of creating lots and lots of ideas. It's like blue sky thinking, when you just throw loads of ideas out there, and by throwing loads of ideas out, you create an environment where more ideas come. What we're searching for in that process are golden nuggets, and I think of a golden nugget as being such a crisp, clearly defined idea or focus that then yields a whole range of other stuff around it that you can start to build pieces on, build songs on, build movements on, build whole symphonies on. Their little focuses of inspiration. What's really important, I think, for me is a bit of a celebration and a welcoming of mistakes. You should make mistakes. Really often the mistakes do become more interesting and better than things you were originally doing. The worst thing to do is to instantly and instinctively react in a negative way to people making mistakes when they're playing music. It gets in the way of everything to do with creativity and collaboration. Exploration involves making mistakes, and if you don't make mistakes en route, you're not really exploring. The song Twister originally started off as a tongue twister, which is well known here in Malta, and after a while it began to reveal itself that we could have a whole piece that was full of new tongue twisters that were all created around the kind of kooky, quirky things that happen in Malta and Gozo.
Nearly, very good. So the bit where you got astray was when it was "I'll stay home and feed my cat." That's where the tune is different.
To begin to bottom, first line to bottom, to begin to bottom, to begin to bottom, to buy, to begin to bottom. Beginning to bottom, first buy to bottom, to get to bottom is to begin to bottom, to buy, to begin to go. decide to welcome to we now have this song which has a number of kind of quite funny but quite sort of strange, kooky little part rap, part sung verses with a big rousing football chant type chorus, which then launches into the Maltese tongue twister. And then out of nowhere appears a very famous tune that everybody knows here in Malta. Two weeks before the final performance, I was pretty nervous about the whole thing musically. Didn't really feel that we were close to having a band or a performance of any kind of quality that you would want to put on a big stage.
Ao longo de todo este percurso do projeto, nós reunimos com imensas pessoas, imensas instituições diferentes, que tinham responsabilidades diferentes em relação à música, profissional e amadora, mas também responsabilidades sociais, instituições ligadas a pessoas mais das margens da cultura, com menos acesso, e apesar de recebermos sempre um feedback positivo, depois elas não se materializavam. Ou seja, houve muitas reuniões, quer com orquestras, com instituições de solidariedade social, com projetos de voluntariado, que depois não se materializaram em participação no projeto.
A couple of things happened, though, that helped turn that round. One was just bringing the three musicians from Portugal, Serginho, Miguel and Joanna,
three really excellent musicians, but they're musicians who are really great at working with people and alongside people and motivating groups and inspiring groups. They didn't come in as soloists or stars at all. They sort of sat in the band, and the inspirational effect of those three was really extraordinary. The second thing that was really strong and was really clear as we leave this project was the commitment of the members of the group to make it work and to help each other. The complete absence of any individual ego. There was a real feeling that everyone was there for everyone else in the group, and there was no complaints that I was aware of, but everyone was really understood the process, and everyone was really helping everyone else in really practical, real ways, really looking after each other, and it was a really strong community that was created amongst that group, and that was a remarkable thing.
Outro aspecto importante foi o de, durante algum tempo, termos trabalhado na ilha de Gozo e Malta de forma separada e até com alguns grupos, termos feito algum trabalho de forma mais autónoma e, na fase final de produção, nos termos finalmente juntado todos, o que implicou um processo de logística um bocadinho complexo, mas que também traz coisas ao projeto, musicais. O facto de toda a ilha, todos os participantes terem que apanhar um ferry, terem que vir para a ilha, virem todos juntos, chegarem todos juntos, conhecerem pela primeira vez o restante grupo que já ao longo de meses ouviu falar destes outros participantes que iriam integrar e, portanto, que os recebem de forma calorosa e com um espírito muito positivo. Isto também trouxe outra energia ao projeto e também desenvolve coisas que acabam por estar presentes no concerto final.
We have a couple of people that have little record players and ghetto blasters, which we'll use as well. Have you got a preload in there, Jake? Could we hear it?
The performance is quite a unique event and sort of always should be in a way. I think with Mewġa Mużika, one of the things that we did was we prepared a lot of stuff that may or may not happen in the performance and that would reveal itself depending on what it felt like on the evening of the performance. So for me directing, I take into account a lot of how I sense the audience is, but then also how I sense the performers on stage are as well. Then react and respond to that a lot. So I like to involve the audience, and the audience do get involved. And when you start involving an audience, again, it's important not to second guess how you think the audience is going to react, and you get some reluctant audiences and you get some very keen audiences. And what's important when you work with an audience is to use the energy that is coming from them. And so it's a real dialogue. And then how the audience starts to get involved affects what you then do with the band on stage. So the whole thing's pretty dynamic and pretty fluid. Our performance is also kind of like sort of peppered with all kinds of sort of like little eccentric moments, unique moments. From Mewġa Mużika, there was the tongue twister moment, which was one of my favourites, where we had representatives, I think from maybe 15 nationalities, with all suddenly popped up at the front of the stage reciting tongue twisters in their own language as a battle between tongue twisters, which then ended up with the big famous Maltese tongue twister with everyone joining in. We had a moment where everyone suddenly starts playing the chorus from Traffic on comb and paper. Now that emerged because one of the percussionists, one of our most dedicated participants, suddenly busted out a comb and paper in one session and started playing it. There was a moment where everybody had brought a mobile phone or a playback device with a bit of Maltese music on it. So at a certain point, everyone held up their phones or their devices and played some Maltese music. And we had a little turntable record player at the front. One of the guys had some brilliant old folk LPs from Malta. You get this big collage of Maltese sounds, and so these kind of moments within the performance creates another kind of dynamic and a real excitement. So within Tongue Twister, you go from this kind of quite intense vocal stuff then into a groove, and those two things side by side are very exciting.
Desde o início que queríamos ir à ilha de Gozo, por várias razões. Primeiro, toda a gente nos dizia:
You must go to Gozo, you must go to Gozo. So we went to Gozo. Our first session there, within the space of 45 minutes, we created a bit of material which undoubtedly will become one of the key pieces that we end up doing in our final performance. And it was quite surprising how quickly that came together and how easy that came together. Within the music that we make, we begin with very simple technical material. 1 or 2 chords. What that allows for is a wealth of ideas and openness and dynamism in the way that you make sound and you share ideas, because you're not worrying about the complexities of the underlying process. So when we start a process, if we use 1 or 2 chords, what that does is it invites people to take part regardless of their previous skill and their experience, and to be quite open with that. This thing is shown so clearly with the Arna tradition here. You have 2 chords for an hour, and that allows the performers to improvise, to banter, to trade ideas, to have fun, to be creative over the top of that. And it's such a beautiful tradition that they have there, and there's a connection between that and the way that we use very simple ideas. Simple ideas allows for creativity. The Malta and Gozo anthem started life right at the start of the very first session in Gozo. My first instruction to the group was to suggest a chord. They came up with a chord of F, and we played that for a bit, and then I said, give me another chord, and they said B flat. So then we had this cycle, F, B flat, F, B flat, and out of that 2 chord thing came this idea of we've got 2 chords joining themselves together as though actually they're representative of the 2 islands, Malta and Gozo, coming together in a harmonious way. And so out of that emerged the feeling of this quite grand celebratory anthem that celebrates the connection and the sharing between Malta and Gozo.
Malta.